Neville Goddard, Power of Awareness, Chapter 19, Essentials. The essential points in the successful use of the law of assumption are these. First, yearning, longing, intense burning desire. With all your heart, you must want to be different from what you are. He just said from all your heart. Intense burning desire is the mainspring of action, the beginning of all successful ventures. In every great passion, desire is concentrated. As the heart panteth after the watered brooks, so panteth my soul after thee, O God. Blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Here the soul is interpreted as the sum total of all you believe, think, feel, and accept as true. In other words, your present level of awareness. God means I am, the source of fulfillment of all desire. This quotation describes how your present level of awareness longs to transcend itself. Righteousness is the consciousness of already being what you want to be. Righteousness is the consciousness of already being what you want to be. Second, cultivate physical immobility. A physical incapacity not unlike the state described by Keats in his Ode to a Nightingale. Quote, a drowsy numbness pains my senses as though of hemlock I had drunk. End quote. Go into the closet and shut the door. It is a state akin to sleep, but one in which you are still in control of the direction of attention. You must learn to induce this state at will, but experience has taught that it is more easily induced after a substantial meal or when you wake in the morning feeling very loath to arise. Then you are naturally disposed to enter this state. This is a very, very, very important chapter. So be a hearer and a doer. Neville's father, Joseph Goddard, did this after breakfast in the morning, and he sat in his I forgot the name of the chair, but it's a very fascinating chair. The arms on this chair was a wooden frame chair, and the arms had an equal length that swiveled out so you could kick your leg up like as if you're on a desk. But you can kick up one leg, or you wouldn't kick up both, obviously, but you could kick up a leg and you could sit back in this chair. I'll try and get a video and attach it to this description. But he would go after breakfast, the heavy meal, and he would sit there with his eyes half open, and he would go through what his day was going to be involved with as far as business concerns, interactions, engagements, buying and selling, whatever he was doing with his business. He was a grocer, and their family became ship's chandlers. In fact, they still are today. It's called Goddard Industries, I think, or Goddard Enterprises, and they supply cruise ships with all the groceries. I believe, I don't know how far their business extends, but I know they do it in the Caribbean, obviously. And I'm sure it's way beyond that because they're a very big organization. But he would sit back, he would look at all of his transactions he would have in the coming day, and he would see them at his result as having gone his way. In the affirmative. Neville's dad did this without Neville's instruction. As you know, his brother Victor imagined seeing the name on the building that they eventually had purchased for them by someone else who liked them, gave him the building at a very recent price, decent rate of loan interest, and they paid it off over, I think, 10 or 20 years. And then they eventually sold that building for quite a handsome profit with no tax, no capital gains. But this is what he's talking about here in this paragraph, is to do that same thing his dad did, the same thing we all have the capacity to do. It's right when you're waking up, it sets, before you're falling asleep, or in the chair, you're shutting off the senses. Incidentally, Neville's dad, Joseph Goddard, did this daily, and all those items he meditated on were always successful in his favor. The value of physical immobility shows itself in the accumulation of mental force, which absolute stillness brings with it. It increases your power of concentration. Be still and know that I am God. In fact, the greater energies of the mind seldom break forth, save when the body is stilled and the door of the senses closed to the objective world. The third and last thing to do is to experience in your imagination what you would experience in reality had you achieved your goal. Imagine that you possess a quality or something you desire which hitherto has not been yours. Surrender yourself completely to this feeling until your whole being is possessed by it. This state differs from reverie in this respect. It is the result of a controlled imagination and a steadied, concentrated attention. Whereas reverie is the result of an uncontrolled imagination, usually just a daydream. In the controlled state, a minimum of effort suffices to keep your consciousness filled with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The physical and mental immobility of this state is a powerful aid to voluntary attention and a major factor of minimum effort. The third and last thing to do is experience in your imagination what you would experience in reality had you achieved your goal. I am all that is God right here, right in the center of all of us. All of us come from this. Here's one self-concept, your self-concept, my self-concept, his, hers, everyone's, mother, brother, father, sister. Everybody has a self-concept in which they're occupying temporarily, hopefully temporarily, because once you become aware of how this law works, you don't have to stay where you are anymore. You can actually impact your subconscious, bring together the idea of your conscious and subconscious to give birth to the new physical reality, the idea being the force at work here. Experience in your imagination what you would experience in reality had you achieved your goal. Your goal is here, and then basically you're going to experience in your imagining, and you're going to feel what is it like to ride a skateboard. If anybody hasn't had that experience, it's pretty incredible. It is very, very fun, like the first time you rode a bike, but you're doing it standing up. And believe me, it's a lot more riskier. But what does it feel like to ride a skateboard? I know, I've done it so many times. I can tell you, there's a definite balance on this way. There's a balance on this way. You have to be careful that your wheels don't hit rocks, all these other little details. The sidewalk's not going to stop you or jut your board slightly and then you go face planting onto the sidewalk. All these little factors are at work when you imagine what it feels like to ride a skateboard. But you don't think about those. You just think of the riding, the gliding, the movement. This is all you need to be feeling when you're feeling, I am riding a skateboard. If that was your desire, you would just feel what you see in everybody else gliding along, having fun. You would be that in your imagination. You would be creating a feeling of what they look like while they're gliding along. Nothing to do with what stops the skateboard potentially, rocks, cracks in the sidewalk, all that crap. I just mentioned that because I've done it since I was a little kid so many times, hundreds, thousands, who knows. The idea here is that when you put the feeling into the imagined picture, I'm using the skateboard for the fun of it, the feeling, what does that feel like? You do it once, okay, you did it for a second or two, great. But you need to do this. You need to persist in this. You need to do it when you wake up, when you're falling asleep, when you're taking your snooze after your lunch, when you're taking your siesta. All these opportunities are times for you to get that feeling coursing through you. The more times you feel this energy of what it is you wish, the more life you're giving to this objective reality. This objective reality is waiting. It's not saying, oh, someone else come and get me. It's waiting for you because the desire is within you. The objective reality is within you. This is within you. All this is within you. In my Father's house are many mansions. Out here, where you think it exists, is not where it exists. It only exists inside of you. So the only place you're going to have the experience is on the inside if you want to have the supposed experience on the outside. Remember, what's the fingers? There's the outside, and there's where it actually is literally happening. When you're pointing out there, something's reminding you it's not there. It's over here, this way. In here, not out here. This is where loss is. This is where failure is. This is the illusion. All of it's happening in here. So your objective reality is existing in you as much as the desire for that reality is existing in you. All you're trying to do is bring these couple little things together by having the impression of into your subconscious of that reality. Feeling it here brings this here to the center of you. Then this concept will go away and you'll occupy this one. On this board, they might look like they're in a different spot, but it's always ever only right here. There's only one spot all of this exists. The physical and mental immobility of this state is a powerful aid to voluntary attention and a major factor of minimum effort. The application of these 3 points, desire, physical immobility, the assumption of the wish already fulfilled, is the way to at-one-ment, or union with your objective. At-one-ment, union with your objective, is exactly what I just described. The fact that there's no time, and I mean it's a fact. You cannot prove that there's time. Okay, break out your picture albums, break out your stories, break out your scars on your body, saying that there's a past. You're actually literally only in a now. There's no way you can prove that there's a past or a future. It's only right now. It's ever blossoming new nows, but they're only nows. At-one-ment is the moment point. At-one-ment. You get the desire, the objectification of that desire is happening in the same instant. It's happening in the same moment. This is an instruction on how to close the gap between your physically sensing and seeing the reality of that experience or not. Since it is an option, I'm here to tell you that it is what you're experiencing. You're the shadow of the past, if you want to go there, of the past. The fourth dimensional reality gives you the desire and the objectification of the experience at the same moment. This is in existence. All we're trying to do is convince your past to catch up with your now. The three-dimensional self is a shadow. This is a shadow of the fourth dimensional thought. You have a psychological thought. That's fourth dimension. It makes the impression under your subconscious, which creates the three-dimensional shadow of the experience. That's this. So when you have a desire and you have an object in your mind, in your sights that you want to be or experience, that is already in existence. You're trying to convince the shadow of the experience, so then you embody the new experience that you had in your focus the whole time. It wouldn't be in your focus, it wouldn't be in your awareness, it wouldn't be an idea at all if you didn't have it already when you got the desire for it. All time is now. So considering that it's now, you're only ever trying to convince your past self, the self that is the laggard. You're bringing up the rear. So you're trying, now get a hold of this, you're trying to bring up the past to where it is already. You're trying to bring you to catch up with where you already are. You're already there in the ultimate now, in the eternal now, right there. I am all that is, God. Everything comes from that. That's right now. That's the only now. It's the eternal now. You're here. You physically see and sense here. But since you're there, your only job is to convince this self it's there by the desire, physical immobility, and the assumption of the wish already fulfilled with feeling, thought, and feelings, which you're bringing together here. One of the most prevalent misunderstandings is that this law works only for those having a devout or religious objective. This is a fallacy. It works just as impersonally as the law of electricity works. It can be used for greedy, selfish purposes, as well as noble ones. This law doesn't have, it's no respecter of persons. It's no respecter of persons, this law. Anything. But it should always be borne in mind that ignoble thoughts and actions inevitably result in unhappy consequences. That's like a footnote among all this gold he continues to pour out in this wonderful, wonderful understanding of the law. And then he gives you this little tiny note. One of the most prevalent misunderstandings is that this law works only for those having a devout or religious objective. This is a fallacy. It works just as impersonally as the law of electricity works. It can be used for the greedy, selfish purposes as well as the noble ones. But it should always be borne in mind that ignoble thoughts and actions inevitably result in unhappy consequences. You get what you give. You send it and you get it. Because if it's not received, and all those negative, ignoble ways, whatever they are, they're going to come back to you if they're not received by the sentee, because you're the sender. The sentee doesn't want it. It's going right back to you. That's just the way it bounces. All right, Power of Awareness, Chapter 19, Essentials. Whoa, my eyes are getting crossed on this chapter. What a great one. All right, we'll see you in the next one.